All right, here we go. Headed to the bottom of the ninth. Reds are down by a lot. I must admit, this is the D-Day, right? This is the day. They don't come back and win this game. Mathematically eliminated.
The graphics are already in Canva. No, the Mets have to win too, but they're up 9-0.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go buy some drywall. I guess I'll go get some drywall tomorrow morning, and I'll see if I can't get that thing fixed before the show.
It's a day game.
Oh. Makes it a little tough.
Lowe's open at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Trey's ready to go.
I'm more concerned about my ability to do the job fast. Might turn into one of those projects where you think it's easy and then you realize, this might have been a bad idea.
I'm sorry, Atlanta. I shorted your run. My apologies.
They came in bunches towards the end.
Yeah.
If you're an Atlanta fan, you got to be frustrated that the Diamondbacks and the Mets just keep winning.
Yeah. Well, this is about a must-win game for them. I mean, you fall to 3 back at this point, you're about toast.
Nice play.
Oh man, it doesn't get any easier. The next series for the Diamondbacks is the Brewers, who just clinched. So that might actually be good for them.
Who do the Braves have?
Where's that at? Schedule grid. The Braves are at the Marlins, and then they play the Mets at home next week. So they're still going to get a 3-game series. That as long as if you're them, you probably want to if you get to that series within 1 game. I mean, then you just have to win the series, and you're tied.
Yep. Well, had a good run. Seasons in the balance with Santiago Espinal. Hmm. 2-0. Did he just pull the string on him? He did. What a bastard. 7-1, and you're going to throw a sinker. Oh, man.
Pro at bat.
Yeah. Hey. Never give in, man. In the stat book at the end of the year, this at bat looks almost the same as a 1-to-1 baseball game with a man on first base. Draws a walk. Well, just as you thought it couldn't get any worse, the season's in the balance with Ahmed Rosario now at the dish.
I forgot he was still on the roster until they pitched it earlier.
Here he is. I'll tell you what would be funny is if Atlanta had to sweat this out a little bit for their fan base. Now, that would be good. Let's get this thing to like 7-4, 7-3. Tying run comes to the plate.
That would be a bummer for Atlanta.
How many people are screaming at bummer right now? Just absolutely losing their minds over it. I mean, yeah, they're up 7-1, but he's walked a guy. Now he's 2-0 on the next guy. 3-0. Oh, he's lost it. He's lost it.
You got to get me straight there.
Oh, you're a whole pitch ahead.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You're telling me the umpire gave him one?
Yeah.
He's not a pro then. We're out here. We're grinding at bats away, and he's giving away strikes. All right, that was pretty close, to be fair. Oh, well, all right. Don't even need to see the last pitch.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the line, Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champion. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first run ever with 4 home runs in a game. Can you believe it? In the air, down the right field line. Does it have a chance? The Reds have won on a 3-run home run on opening day by Ramón Hernandez. A strike away and out away is Homer Bailey. Ground ball to third. Frazier gloves. Throw to first, and Homer Bailey, for the second time in his major league career, has tossed the no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy moly, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
September 18th, 2024, your Cincinnati Reds have officially been eliminated from postseason baseball. You know, quite the night to just make this happen. It would have been a little weird or disappointing, perhaps, if it was like a really good baseball game that they actually ended their season. This one kind of seemed poetic. I mean, and they looked relatively abysmal at the plate. Another one run they find themselves putting on the board. And we got a bunch of guys that are giving up runs that are really in the game now, mostly just because they have to finish the year and they're not allowed to quit and they have to throw innings. So congrats to the Braves. I mean, hey, they found a way to win, and they got a postseason to chase down, and I guess they got to find a way to see if they can't get by us another time here. But Nick, got the box score recap as usual. I guess we'll get to the one bright spot, which is clearly Jakob Junis. But outside of that, I'm going to grind away just like that Santiago Espinal bat in the ninth.
We do it for Santiago tonight.
That's what we do it for. This one's for you, Espinal.
All right, Reds taking on the Atlanta Braves, second of 3 at Great America Ballpark. Braves enter 2 games out of the final NL wildcard spot. It was a pitcher's duel early in the game. Jakob Junis more than delivered on his end. 6 innings, 2 hits, just 1 run, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. That was his longest start with the Reds. Reds trailed 1-0 going into the bottom of the 6th as Spencer Schwellenbach pitched around base runners in 4 of the first 5 innings. In the bottom of the 6th, Elly De La Cruz led off with a triple. Then with 1 out, TJ Friedl laid down a squeeze bunt to tie the game at 1. But it would be all downhill from there. Tony Santillan got rocked to give up 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th. And the Reds would go on to lose 7-1. Reds fall to 74-79 on the season.
Thank the Lord for the minors. DSC, they sponsored the deep drive of the day, and it came off the bat of Tyler Callahan. That's his 9th home run for Louisville. How fast do you think it came off the bat? Not quite 100 miles an hour. 99.7, 418 feet. And we don't really give a damn about whether or not it helped the Louisville Bats win. You'll have to stick around later to find out if they won and or lost. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I'll leave that up for later in the show. All right, the DSC Deep Drive of the Day is sponsored by Deep South Commodities, and they are a leader in renewable commodities specializing in biofuel production, used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. And thank you to John and his team for making this thing a possibility. I wasn't really built for I wasn't built for this. I got to be honest. I can watch games and I can consume as much as I can possibly can and come up with some things that I think are relevant to discuss and insightful and fun. But when you watch a game like today, you're really left with not a lot. And Jakob Junis was probably the only thing, Nick, that and I don't want to take away your thunder. Maybe you'll bring up some other points. But Jakob Junis goes out and throws the ball really, really well, and I guess that's the silver lining in this whole thing. But continue at this point, it's pretty safe to say I would think that they'll pick up. What do they owe him again? Do you know off the top of your head? $5 million?
$5 million.
So yeah. I mean, they're gonna pick that $5 million up, no brainer. Move on. And it's nice to see him throw the ball well. And let's just hope from now until the end of the season that everybody's capable of staying healthy and we kind of keep it moving. I don't know how you feel about tonight, but that's kind of what I took away.
Yeah, I mean, Jakob Junis was really the only takeaway from this game, and he threw the ball really well. Again, this was a game and a start where the opposing team has everything in the world to play for. So for him to put up, put that kind of start together, and then you saw when he came out of the game, how quickly Atlanta really took control of the game. So impressive stuff from Junis. I think he's made the Reds front office decision a very easy one with his option, and makes the Frankie Montas signing look actually really good at the end of the year.
Maybe
you sign a guy on a 1-year deal. You've got Jakob Junis. Jakob Junis has now another year that looks like it's a pretty good deal. Junis also gave you innings this year. So that signing actually ended up working out pretty well for the Reds overall. But there was something very interesting today. Mark Sheldon's newsletter said that it seems likely that the Reds will extend Nick Martinez a qualifying offer. So Reds must be listening.
Yeah, they're listening to the show. I mean, they might as well. Jakob Junis, in regards to the Montas deal, if he's semi, and I say semi in a hesitation way, but if he's a name that we will bring up at the end of the season as being a semblance of the reason why the Reds are making the postseason, then I would say that trade was a success. Obviously, you have Weimer, who's still hanging in the balance. That's a possibility. I get where you're coming from, though, because you're going to say he ate up innings in a year that Montas' only real job for the rest of the year was going to be eat up innings. So I guess you don't really lose anything, which is the whole point of the trade. So, yeah, I mean, am I going to sit here and jump for joy that, we had this great deal with Milwaukee at the deadline and look how smart we are? No, I'm not going to do that. And I hope Montas throws the ball well, for the Brewers, if he's still healthy. I don't keep up with the Brewers on an everyday basis, but, it's just frustrating. I don't mean to make this like just a complete, sidetrack, off the rails show, but find yourself in another season where you know that you have to wait a whole nother year to get something that you've waited for your whole life. And that's just kind of where I'm at. I knew this day was coming, Nick. I was well aware of it. It was probably happened a month ago at least. But it still just stinks that this is continuing to happen for our fan base as a whole. Even the ones that are super pessimistic all the time. They're in the same boat we are. We're just kind of on different ends of the way in which we fan, but at the same time, I understand the frustration that many of those have. But what do? You just got to pick up your stuff and move on, and that's hopefully what the Reds will do, and hopefully in 2025 they'll get some offense. This is where we can jump to next. There really wasn't much of it in this game, Nick. Can I say something that's people are gonna get mad about, that probably are negative fans? It just seems like every time that something good happens for this team, it happens in a bad time. So it's like, I'm not trying to say that the whole season was unlucky, but it's like India gets a triple. There's 2 outs. Elly De La Cruz has a ground ball that would have scored him if it was anything other than 2 outs. You hit a triple, and you should score a run in that inning 80+% of the time, and that just didn't happen. You find a way to get guys in scoring position, you strike out. And those are things that this team 100% could fix on their own. Yes, I'm not saying that's unlucky. But it's frustrating baseball to watch from time to time. And at the end of the day, let's face it, the only thing that separates this team from making the playoffs is, a handful, call it 10, 15 games. The question, I guess, that we ultimately will have is can they find 10 to 15 collectively WAR players this offseason, whether through guys getting healthy or whether they go out in free agency? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, they can certainly find those wins. It's not going to all be in free agency. I can guarantee you that. I mean, you hope it's a combination of your guys that have underperformed playing better. You hope it's some combination of your 15-27 record in 1-run games just naturally improving by kind of what you said, some things just sequencing a little bit better. And I do think you need to make some smart moves to help round out that, but it's got to be a combination, really, I think, of all 3 of those things. It's not one. Doing one without the other 2 is not going to likely get the Reds where they need to be next year. So you're going to need, all 3 of those things to work out.
Yeah, no doubt. The thing I keep stressing the most, though, during these shows is the appreciation I have for everybody that supports us. Doing these shows on a nightly basis at times like this are just flat out brutal. Brutal. I mean, what are we supposed to talk about right now? But we're capable of doing it because plenty of you, so many of you, continue to come in here night in and night out to at least make us feel a little bit better, and I appreciate that. Like the stream, obviously, if you haven't already. And of course, thank you to 988 and mantherapy.org for supporting us, but more importantly, hopefully, for us to provide an opportunity to continue to shout them out and give somebody a resource if they need it. So mantherapy.org, 988, Tony and his team, very, very much appreciate their partnership, and they very much have allowed us to continue to elevate what we do and Game Time as well. So if you're looking to get tickets, please, by all means, download the Game Time app. I know this season's winding down. There's probably plenty of other things, whether you love football, college football, NFL, maybe it's college basketball. That'll be around the corner here soon, Nick. You blink, and before you know it, there'll be some college basketball. But if you're looking to get tickets, hey, they haven't turned the lights out on us yet. You can still use the code CINCY, CINCY. You get $20 off your first purchase. Use it while you can. And we very much appreciate all of our sponsors. So download the Game Time app today as well. As far as the remaining topics of conversation on a show like this, I guess I know you have Santillan on there. I don't have a lot to say about Santillan. He had a tough little stretch of ball there. The thing that was probably the most frustrating is that he almost was there. I mean, he was right there, Nick. He battled. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? This is why you want guys that have swing and miss stuff in the back end of your bullpen, because they can get themselves in trouble, but they can get themselves out of trouble. He looked like he was in a world of mess, and he finds a way to get back-to-back strikeouts. And yes, he does walk Murphy to load the bases up. He's got the 9-hole hitter up, and unfortunately, he got behind in the count. He had to throw a 3-1 cookie right down the middle because he didn't want to walk him. And to his credit, he threw a strike, but unfortunately, he paid for it. And he was so damn close from getting out of there. And I think Santillan, we'll see. I will openly admit his age, okay, and his shape. I am hesitant to be very, very optimistic about relying on someone like that for next season. But he's looked pretty good since he's been here, and I think that's where I'm going to end with Santillan. I don't have much to say about his outing tonight.
Yeah, he's got some really good stuff. He's just, I mean, the location tonight, the first three batters, they were pretty bad pitches. But then he made really good pitches to get out of it. And actually, the pitch that he gave up the single to Arcia was actually a pretty decent pitch. He just put a nice swing on it, hit the ball back up the middle, and drove in 2 runs to kind of put the dagger in the game. But yeah, I mean, look, Santillan's just another nice option for the Reds. He's also probably very fatigued at this point. He didn't throw a lot of innings the last couple years, battling through injuries. So, you have to kind of take some of these results with some of these guys with a little bit of a grain of salt this late in the year, just because they're the ones that are still healthy when there's a lot of other guys that are on the IL right now and they're grinding through. Yeah, I mean, Santillan's thrown more innings this year in the big leagues than he threw in 2022 and 2023 combined. So,
yeah. Will we see? I want to say something. Will we see? I don't know. I don't want to put this vibe out there, so I won't say it. I'll say it. Will we see Benson again in a Reds uniform?
I mean, unless they trade him.
You're that confident.
I mean, there's no way they're going to dump Benson with
I didn't say they were
2 options
dump him.
left.
I didn't say they were going to dump him. I'm talking about actually like, and if he's Bubba Thompson, that doesn't count. I'm talking like, is he actually going to be a player for the Reds again?
Yeah. Unless they trade him this offseason, he'll be back up at some point next year. I mean, there'll be an injury.
You're overly confident about that.
I'm very confident that if Will Benson's not traded, he will get at least another extended look in the big leagues with the Reds.
I would we're on different sides of that aisle. I'm not rooting for that, to be clear, but I just Will Benson, Tommy John surgery. I just think that more times than not, these are the types of things that happen, and then all of a sudden you just like, what happened to him? And then it's like, well, this one thing led to the next, and he struggled a little bit, and he just never got another opportunity. That's very, very, very much possible. You're talking about Brandon Williamson. I'm talking about Benson. So I got sidetracked. First of all,
I was like, did I miss Will Benson getting Tommy John surgery?
No, you didn't. But I looked at B. Will, and I got Benson in my head, and then I'm trying to transition to Brandon Williamson having Tommy John surgery.
I'm like Googling Will Benson Tommy John surgery.
No.
What did I miss here, man?
No, but I'm saying, let me stick to Will Benson for a second, because I seen B. Will. That's what brought my mind. But then I realized you meant Tommy John surgery, so then I had to read back. So it was on me. It's on me. Maybe some more show prep on my part would be better. So I apologize. So first of all, I'll stick to my last topic. Will Benson, I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen. But moving on to Brandon Williamson, Tommy John. The crazy thing about Tommy John anymore, though, I will openly admit, is like these guys sometimes come back better than they were before. So I don't. It's obviously not a good thing, Nick, but it's not the devastating injury it used to be.
This is really callous, but it's almost kind of like you're glad it happens now. It doesn't happen in spring training next year when you were, at least you're not going to have them all next year. Like, it now. It sucks for Williamson. Now, the good news for Williamson is he's on the big league roster, so he's going to get paid. Unlike a guy like Edwin Arroyo, who has Tommy John surgery and was still in the minor leagues, and you get nothing out of that. So, for him, at least he gets paid, but sucks for him because he looked really good. Like when he came back too. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I did not expect him to look as good as he looked in those couple starts that he had. So that just sucks, but at least hey, we're down Williamson, and that kind of makes your equation. I think Junis and Martinez, especially if they pick both of those options up, I don't know. They're still on the borderline for me, whether you should still add another starting pitcher. And honestly, maybe it's just add another bulk guy. Like, just throw another one of those guys into the mix. I like those guys.
I know you like those guys, but I almost think that the Reds are probably in a position where the Reds are in a position where if they can survive in advance and get closer and closer to the All-Star break, I'd have to look to see what kind of guys are nearing the end of maybe some free agency opportunities to where maybe you could get a good arm at the deadline next year. That would be an opportunity or an option for me. I just don't think that getting guys like Montas is going to move the needle enough, in my opinion, to make a difference, but we'll see. As far as Brandon Williamson goes, yeah, it sucks for him, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. Unfortunately, I guess that's callous to say for this Reds team, especially if like you said, going into next season, that's going to be the deal. And I don't know, even if he was going into next season healthy, I don't know how much the Reds were going to rely on him anyways. It's kind of my point with the whole roster. It's like we need to stop relying on guys that have done little to next, just so little in the big leagues. Yeah, they might have looked good, Nick, like you mentioned this year. Brandon Williamson, yeah, he looked good, but the sample size, we both can agree, was so small that it's like, how much can you really take of that and feel good about it going into next season? So, Reds got a lot of opportunities, and they're going to have a lot of decisions to make in 2025, and it's going to start at the end of 2024, heading into 2025 with this offseason. So, this is probably the toughest year, in my opinion, that Nick Krall is going to have in quite some time, because the expectations at this point are higher than they were a couple seasons ago, and a lot of the answers that you thought you had are not there. So he's going to have to bet, he's going to have to gamble, and he's going to have to be right. Simple as that.
And a lot of those questions are going to come really quick, because the Reds have one of the more difficult 40-man crunches I think that they're going to have in a long time. The non-tender deadline will be in the middle of November. So, I mean, season ends, you're going to have about 6 weeks, and the Reds are going to have to make a lot of decisions on who they're going to keep and who they're not, including guys in the minor leagues like Tyler Callahan or DSC Deep Drive of the Day, and the list goes on and on. So it's tough. That's going to be something I'm going to break down when the season ends. I'm going to spend probably quite a bit of time on that, on the non-tender deadline, and kind of break down each, all the options. And I think when you see all the names and you see how little spots, I think you're going to kind of be like, wow, there might be some names that you will be very surprised that get either cut or traded away just because the Reds run out of roster moves. That happens. That's why the Reds got Will Benson. The Guardians did not want to give away Will Benson. They had to, because they didn't have a roster spot for him.
Right. Well, that happens, but at the same time, there's a reason that you cut guys that are on the fringe, because they're just not good enough. Like if Will Benson was still in the Guardians organization, he would. Let's see.
He would have helped them a lot last year. Their outfield was a disaster last year.
Well, that's fair, but they weren't very good last year. So,
well, maybe if they had Will Benson, they would have been a little better.
Yeah, they would have been mediocre. They would have been like.
There was a lot of Guardians fans last year that were very upset about giving away Will Benson, as their outfield completely was abysmal last year. And it's funny how things change. And 1 year, your perspective's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to. Will Benson is an odd one, because he did look like he had a semblance of a clue up there in 2023. Like he just looked the part, and then all of a sudden this year, it's not so much that he struggled; it's just the way he looked as well. And it's I don't know, it's got me spinning in regards to what to do with him.
He did get hit by a pitch, right? Was that a couple weeks ago? So I feel like that has to be playing some factor in him getting no playing time. Right?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask.
He's not on the injury. He's not on the injury report, but I know I think he got hit by a pitch, and he got taken out of a game. I think he ended up playing the next day, but I don't think he's played much since. I have to think that has something to do with him completely not getting any playing time.
Maybe. I mean, It's impossible to know what the plan is right now with this organization, because they're in a situation where they can start to do things that don't make sense on a competitive level, but does make sense from the standpoint of trying to figure out what options that you might have to make in this offseason. Like I've said before, I'll say it again. Jake Fraley facing this many guys that are left-handed pitchers this much towards the end of the season, I think it's a clear, evident way of them saying to themselves, this is what we have. Let's figure out, maybe we haven't given him enough run. Let's let him face left-handed pitching for the rest of the season and see what happens. It ultimately goes the way they thought. They now have an easier decision to make when that time comes. Again, is that the right way to go about it? I don't know, but that's what they're doing. So, all right, Reds MILB, of course, and we do have more baseball games to be played, and I, of course, am going to have to figure out this whole drywall situation because there sounds like the who, what, when, and where is going to come a little bit early.
All right, just obviously one game. We're down to one team left. Tough day for the Bats. They lost 15-5 to Omaha. They were down 12-0 at one point in this one. Bats fall to 64-81 on the year. There was a lot of interesting players in action. Jacob Hurtubise 1 for 4. Nick Martini 0 for 4 with a walk. Tyler Callahan, first game since getting promoted to AAA, 2 for 5 with a homer. That's his 9th overall between AA and AAA this year, so that's great to see. I really hope they send him out to the Arizona Fall League. He's one of the guys I think is really underrated in the Reds farm system, and I think could really be a guy that sneaks up to the big leagues maybe next year. Ian Jabot really struggled again. I think this was a second rehab game. Didn't get through an inning, gave 3 hits and 3 runs. Zach Maxwell, though, very positive outing for him. He went an inning and a third on a day where no one could get anyone out. Just gave up 1 hit, no walk, struck out 2 batters. Rest of the pitching was brutal. Jose Acuna, he's really struggled since getting promoted to AAA. Another guy that is Rule 5 eligible this year. He gave up 6 hits in his 2 2/3 innings. Connor Overton gave up 8 hits and 6 runs. He really struggled as well. So just a tough day overall for the old Louisville Bats, who are down to 4 games to play.
And they're counting them, I can guarantee you. There's no doubt about it. They are counting and counting away. Last final thought of the day for me before we jump into the who, what, when, where, and why, and we sign off here. I'll tell you what, I'll actually save that. I'll save that for the end. Got more baseball to be played, even though it's not mathematically needed, as they say. For the Reds, it is.
It's very, very mathematically needed for the Braves tomorrow. They certainly need to get this one. Reds, Julian Aguilar, he's going to get another start. Looked pretty good his last time out. Going up against the lefty Chris Sale, the minus 2,000 Trace to win the NL Cy Young Award. I believe I heard on the broadcast he has 7 or 8 consecutive quality starts. Reds were supposed to face Sale, you might remember, but the game got rained out, so this will be the Reds getting that one back. But yeah, Chris Sale, a little pitcher. We might be doing our post game show about 2:45 tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, 5-minute show. The other thing I was thinking too, man, if you are a Braves fan right now, the last thing you want to see on the pitching matchup is Aguilar 2-0 with a 4.88 ERA. It's like, if this guy goes out here and outduels Chris Sale, like, cancel the season.
The Reds haven't lost a start from him. I think they're 6-0.
Well, we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Yeah, 6-0. Reds are 6-0 with Julian Aguilar starts.
I wonder what the odds on that are going to be. Plus 295, something like that, probably.
I don't know. Let's see what Ballpark Pal says.
I was going to say, I might take the Reds tomorrow just for fun.
It feels like one of those games that make no sense that you win, that somehow
exactly.
happened.
And it just burns. It ends the Brave season.
Yeah.
You let me know when you got those odds.
Your best is plus 170 or 75. Your longest is plus 175.
Oh, that's terrible.
Ballpark Pal. Ballpark Pal gives the Reds a 52% chance of winning.
Wow.
How is this possible?
Wow.
I trust these guys. I mean, they've done well for me, but that one does not compute.
Well, numbers are the numbers, Nick. They don't care what the names look like. So
is the weather crazy in Cincinnati tomorrow?
I don't know.
They're projecting 5.4 runs for the Reds. How?
Maybe their algorithm hasn't kicked in. Maybe it has to wait till midnight. Just saying. I don't.
Plus 32% chance for home runs right now when blowing out.
You heard it. You heard it here first, folks. All right, here's my declaration. And before you go, I just want to say shout out CBOX Bengals as always. They have a show tomorrow at Champions on the west side of Cincinnati. You can go check them out in person. Of course, you can always watch them on the YouTube channel. But I got something to say. I think that this is the case for Reds, and I know many times there's some people that are frustrated with David Bell. But I'm going to give you some. Positive encouragement words on a night like tonight when the season's over. Next season, if the Reds don't make the postseason, you won't have to worry about David Bell anymore, okay? But the good news is that if you do have to worry about David Bell, I think it's going to be because they make the postseason and they finally do what seems like the impossible. Just saying, if you want to have your glass half full tonight and you just can't stand David Bell and you hate the Reds right now because they suck and the owners blah, 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 just know, next season, if they don't make the postseason, you're going to get your wish. But let's hope you don't get your wish. Because I'm hoping, praying, that one day, that this won't be the case. Season's over. But not really, because we'll be back better than ever tomorrow, somehow, some way.